Hello everyone. To answer the query of some of you, wherein you ask the question, what is actually a whole in a rational function? How do we solve for the whole or the wholes in a rational function? First, let us take note. A whole in a rational function is a point where the function is undefined, and this is usually represented by an open circle on the graph of the function. How do we solve for the whole in a rational function? Let's discuss it by making use of one example. Say, for example, we have the rational function f of x equivalent to the difference of x squared and 4 divided by the trinomial x squared minus x minus 6. So we have here rational function. What will be the very first that we are going to do? But first, let us take note that in order to solve for the whole in the rational function, one, you have to go back to factorization of polynomials. Likewise, you have to consider simplification of fractions or rational expressions. First, we have to solve for we have to factor the numerator and the denominator. So factoring the numerator, you have x squared minus 4 is considered as a difference of two squares. Why a difference of two squares? The first term is a perfect square and the second term is a perfect square. And they are separated by the minus sign. And how do we factor the difference of two squares? That would be the sum and difference of the square root of the terms. So what is the square root of x squared? Is x. What is the square root of 4? It is 2. So that the factors now of the difference of two squares, x squared minus 4, will be the sum of x and 2 and the difference of x and 2. While in the denominator, you have an x squared minus, may I just write it correctly, x squared minus x minus 6. It is a quadratic trinomial. So we factor the quadratic trinomial, and I usually do it this way. So we have the x squared minus x minus 6. What are the factors of x squared? You have there x and x. What are the factors of negative 6? That would be negative 3 times 2 or 3 times negative 2. But your middle term is a negative 1. Therefore, it means to say that the negative will be carried by the larger absolute value. That would be negative 3. So we say negative 3 multiplied by 2. And when you multiply x and a negative 3, you will get here a negative 3x. When you multiply x and 2, you have a positive 2x. So that when you add the middle term, or when you add the two products, you have negative 3x plus 2x. You will actually get the middle term there, which is negative x. So what are we going to get? We now cross x minus x plus 2 is one of the factors, and the other factor would be now the x minus 3. Now you can see here that in the denominator an x plus 2 is found, and in the numerator x plus 2 is found, in the denominator x plus 2 is also found. Therefore, we can actually apply cancellation here. We take note that a divided by a is equivalent to 1, provided that a is not equal to 0. That is one thing that we should always remember. The denominator is never 0 because 1 divided by 0 is undefined. Now, x plus 2 divided by x plus 2 is actually 1. So the simplified form of the rational function would now be x minus 2 divided by x minus 3. So we take note, second one, after we have canceled the common factors, we have to find the x-coordinate of the whole. What is the x-coordinate of the whole? We take a look at the canceled factor, which is x plus 2. You equate that to 0 and solve for x. So x is equal to negative 2. X is equal to negative 2 is that x value where we have here the denominator becomes 0. Thus, we have it is not part of the domain. Therefore, the x-coordinate of the whole is negative 2. After we have solved for the x-coordinate, we have to find the y-coordinate. How do we find the y coordinate. We make use of your x is equal to negative 2, plug it into the simplified form of the function. Thus, we have f of negative 2, so that your x will now be changed with negative 2. So you have negative 2 minus 2. Then your x would still also be changed with negative 2 minus 3. Then simplify what you have. What is negative 2 minus 2? Both are negative, so simply combine them together. You have here negative 4. Likewise, for the denominator, both negative, so you have a negative 5. And simplify. Negative divided by negative is positive, so you have here f of negative 2 is equal to 4 fifths. And of course, f of x is equivalent to y, so we have here y is equivalent to 4 fifths. And that is the y coordinate of the whole of the function. So the whole is located at the coordinate negative 2, 4 fifths. And if you have to graph this, it will become a whole in the graph of the rational function. So that is how we determine the whole in a rational function. The first is you're going to factor the numerator and the denominator. Look at the factors of the numerator and the denominator, identify the common factor, cancel, then you have the simplified form of the rational function. Take the cancelled factor, you equate it to 0. Whatever value you're going to get is the x coordinate of the whole. You use that x value, plug it into the simplified rational function, and you will be able to solve for the value of y. That would be the y coordinate. So that we now have here the whole at the point negative 2, 4 fifths. I hope you understood that. Bye bye.